This is Fan First Network.
Blue Jays stumbled into the playoffs. The Blue Jays stumble out of the playoffs. What did you see today?
I mean, it's an embarrassing loss. Like the lack of timely hitting, the lack of scoring, period, has been a problem all year. That's no surprise. The main strength of our team has been our pitching, bullpen and starters, one of the best pitching staffs in the league. And you got a coach, manager John Schneider, that basically takes that advantage and throws it out the window and takes out your ace, a guy who's making $20 million a year, and he doesn't even pitch a full 4 innings. And I don't know what person in the front office, what guy who's going over the analytics of it suggested this, but at the end of the day, he's the manager. And doesn't matter what's happening in the front office. He's making that call. He's walking out there. He's taking the ball from him. So he's the manager, and he has that final say. And he doesn't. Your starter, your ace, who's making $20 million, doesn't go 4 innings. It's unacceptable. And he did this last year against Seattle when we had the biggest playoff collapse at home in MLB history, and he lost us this game again. And that's unacceptable. And he needs to go. At the end of the day, I know it's an emotional reaction, but in my opinion, he should have never had this year either. He should have gone after the collapse last year.
I'm with you. Like John Schneider, ultimately, the management had their fingerprints all over that move to pull Jose Berrios out. That was clear. But John Schneider is in the dugout. Yep. He could have stopped it from happening, and he didn't.
I mean, yeah, and again, there's been multiple suspect decisions all year. I mean, I go back to the Washington series, and each of these games matter, right? And, like, on paper, Tampa Bay is technically the better team than Minnesota, but I was telling my friends over there, I didn't want to see Minnesota. They were the much better team the last couple weeks. They won the division. Tampa Bay was on the decline. And on the last day, when we're tied with Houston, you play out a double-A team. You had a chance to face Tampa in the first round. You just played 2 series against them. You know them a bit more. Again, Minnesota, they won the division. They're division champions. They have that energy. But I don't know why they didn't look at it that way, but multiple things going back to the Washington series. Alejandro Kirk, I think, was on third base. They don't do pitch run with 1 out. He ends up getting tagged out at home. That's a series that you should have taken all 3. And you don't. You take 2 out of 3, and now we're in this position where you face a division championship winner in Minnesota, and you get swept. So
it's funny. All the things that plagued this team over the regular season played out over those 2 games. They couldn't hit. Yeah. They couldn't run the bases. They pitched well. They could not get any hits with any runners in scoring position. It was literally the story of the season in 2 games.
And again, like it's not a surprise. If you're a fan of the team, we know that our strength is pitching and defense, and our disadvantage and our weakness has been hitting. That's not a surprise. And again, we had a great pitching performance. Jose Berrios looked great from the first pitch. Very first pitch, strike, had beautiful movement on it. And you don't let the guy who's making $20 million a year pitch 4 innings. You don't let him, like Sonny Gray, he's had a good year, and he got into trouble. I think it was the 5th or 6th inning, but he had a couple runners on, 1 or 2 outs, but they let him go through it. Why? Because he's their guy. So why aren't we letting our guys pitch through these situations? Gossman is getting paid big money. You should have let him pitch through that situation last year. Berrios is making big money, $20 million a year. Let him pitch through that situation. And then you bring on Kikuchi, and he pitches what? Like 1 1/3 inning? What's the logic? I don't see the logic in it. So it's disappointing. Yesterday I was sad. I gave one of these interviews yesterday to Global News. I was sad yesterday. I still had hope, but today I'm upset, and I think everybody deserves to be upset, and people do need to be held accountable. It's sports. It's results-driven industry, and that needs to be shown. So something's got to happen on a managerial level. The players, I mean, the team is what it is. I'm not even going to put this on the players. To me, Schneider lost this game today like he did last year against Seattle.
Yeah, 1 step forward here. Yeah. For me, the roster construction was a mess. The organization as a whole has not been run well the last few seasons. I would like to point your attention to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and look at his season as a whole now. It was well documented, his struggles. From the very first day of this season, it kept looking like he might figure it out. He didn't. And then today, with that base running error, with Bo Bichette at the dish, where do we stand on Vladdy as the cornerstone of our franchise?
I mean, I don't want to use Vladdy as a scapegoat here. I think everybody's disappointed. I think his numbers are definitely not where they should have been. But you look at our offseason changes, right? You lose Gurriel, you lose Teoscar Hernandez. That's 40 to 50 home runs out of your lineup. And it's there's no protection for Vladdy, right? You got Bo, who's been killing it all year. But other than Bo, Chapman had a great start to the year. He's been invisible. Merrifield, same thing. He's been invisible. So there's no protection for Vladdy, and they're going to throw everything they have at Vladdy because there's nobody else around him other than Bo, who's sitting in front of him. So I mean, people want to use Vladdy as a scapegoat. I'm not going to do that. I think that's more on the roster construction. When you lose all that offensive power with Gurriel and Teoscar, and you bring in guys like Merrifield, or you extend Merrifield, but you don't really replace that. That's going to have an effect on Vladdy because they can just go at him because they got nobody else around him, right? So. But I mean, the blunders on the base paths, that's inexcusable, right? Getting picked off, those are inexcusable plays. Those are fundamentals that there's just mistakes can't be made. The hitting, the offense, I think that's more on the roster construction.
All right. Well, let's hope we find ourselves in a better situation next year.
This is Fan First Network.